Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Euro Trade. I'm your host, Market Stoker D, and we're going to be having a look at the markets today. I'm probably going to be focusing on natural gas. Not sure about copper, but we'll see. So let's start with natural gas first. I did take some longs into the end of day yesterday. Euro close, and then we had the classic day range fill that typically starts at 6:30 p.m. my time. I'm in England. And before we begin, if we are meeting for the first time, I have been trading for 18 years. I'm Series 3 qualified. I'm a commodities trader, but I'm not a CTA, so please familiarize yourself with the risk disclaimer that Bruno posted in the chat. So let's focus first on the Asia highs and lows. Once again, natural gas has been fairly active. Not really something you see a lot, but as we get into the seasonality of increased natural gas demand, naturally you will see Asia picking up, and therefore it becomes a reference point for further movement. When it comes to the NYMEX session at the moment, we are sitting right inside the value area. Let's pop a volume, fixed range volume profile here. And I want to drag it all the way through to the end of the electronic trading. So not just settlement, but also after. Yesterday I said there is somebody who keeps buying after hours. Well, they did the same thing. They did the same thing yesterday. So it finished. We created a failed auction that took a long while to actually start happening. And the party seems to be in the last 90 minutes of NYMEX. So we have London that's fairly lively yesterday. Then NYMEX settles into a bit of a range. Then the end of day comes and we start to see a run up. And here, this candle is the NYMEX settlement. But then look at this. So I spotted that, I think it was like a couple of years ago, that when they start increasing the demand for natural gas, there is somebody that keeps buying after hours. So they actually push this to, I need the measuring tools. They pushed it a further 53 ticks, technically after the settlement. So that's interesting. There they were again. So this is why I extended my target from just the regular failed auction into this extended neutral day. Took a similar trade on my live as well, but we don't have stats there. And I was in with smaller size. So I actually think I got a better entry. It was like 281 rather than 297. But yeah, so now we have GEX2 that is causing a little bit of a support in and around this value area from yesterday. So we're going to be looking for further longs. I do want to see a retest of GEX2 with some increased volume, because right now everything is pretty quiet. You can see the volume is just meh. And even if we go down to a low time frame, everything is kind of muted. So I would like to see a retest of 430, then a subsequent increase in volume. Now they may go down and tag Asia low at 280 before they do anything else. Now, if we go lower, because I like to do hypotheses for both sides. So let's say we go lower. Let's say that whatever's going on the daily chart, and let's have a look at it. I look at the daily chart every single day. If we do go lower, we have some levels all the way down towards 417. So if the longs are going to step in around GEX2, that is ideally where you may want to look for an even better risk profile. And on the 30-minute time frame, we had this little rally-based rally situation. But again, I want to see GEX2 retested, then an increase in volume, and then we can have something to track from the market-generated information. Alexander says, had a nice short on NG from 441. Very good. From 441. Was that yesterday? Is rebound north an option? It is, yeah, absolutely. Especially because we reclaimed GEX2 right now. So typically what happens is that London takes it one way, and then NYMEX steps in and takes it the other way. And many times NYMEX will be the one that tells you of the larger time frame picture. So if I'm trading with a larger time frame picture, I will look to enter in the last 90 minutes of NYMEX. Now I'm in England, so my time, let me get my time zones correct. So the time when I start looking for setups that are high probability, end of day setups in energies, because I've traded energies for like 13 years now, that starts from about 6:30 my time, which is 12:30 p.m. Chicago time. And these sorts of trades are where I basically call them my breadwinners, because what does Dee do? She fades the moves into the end of day. Now, granted, NYMEX has been a little bit quieter recently. You can see it here, like London ran it all the way down, and then they consolidated. Now, sometimes if London consolidates, doesn't really do much, it can actually bring a reversal as kind of like the continuation of the story from yesterday. So they decided to agree on the price around these levels, around basically 430, 420. And this is how you will see change in sentiment, whereby the next day opens inside value, but very quickly you get like this value rejection. It's not a super high probability opportunity nor a super high probability trade, because it doesn't happen that often. So it's like when it does happen, it's great. But most times if you're inside value and sort of in the middle of nowhere, there's no support, there's no demand levels, there's nothing, they will not do much on that day. But right now, if you look on the daily chart, we have a consolidation, but there is a bullish engulfing that is causing us to pause for thought here. But if I zoom out even more, go to the weekly chart, we are coming away from a pretty low price, hitting some supply that is having a reaction already. So basically yesterday we saw that, hit a supply, did a bit of a reversal, and now depending on what we do into this week, we may have a clearer picture of whether they are wanting to increase the price of natural gas, or whether we're just gonna bleed back down. It's not a clean slate by any means, because as soon as you clear this area, there's another area of congestion right up here, a lot of volume there too, and then really it's all quite choppy on the weekly time frame. How does the daily look in that regard? So daily, in the run up to 460, 450, it does have this gap. Now, I do think that this was maybe a contract change in July. But yeah, you do have a little gap there. Sorry, I can hear myself. Let me just mute that. Okay. So there is the gappy gap here. And naturally that has lower volume, right? So it is definitely a target. It's kind of target 1 from a bird's eye view. I'm just going to name that. Contract gap. So that is still kind of an eyesore if you know where to look. And the reason why I say it's contract gap because it's basically in around 18th of the month when you usually change contracts. So that's how I know that that's what it is. So yeah, that would be within the day's time frame, I think. Yeah, just about. So 444 would be the kind of the top extreme of the average daily range for today. But you know, when you have the increase in demand, you usually have a increase in volatility as well. And in that respect, you would you basically want to see ADRs overshot as the volatility is expanding, right? Because it's somewhat of a lagging indicator. But yeah, it looks fine. Right, we're getting a test of 430 now. That is my GEX level. So I'm going to go back and watch the low time frames here to see how we behave. Now, one caveat is that we do have a negative gamma. So you expect some of these levels to get run over. But then if they're going to reclaim it, you should see quite a bit of volume stepping in. Right now, there's not that much volume here. So I'm just going to wait. It's pretty early. And on my live, I think I'm going to just focus on the day range fill. So very late in the day. But yeah, rebound is definitely possible. What is the name of the indicators that I have on? Not too many. Most of these are just either VWAPs or volume profiles of some sort. So let's go through them. So this is the visible range volume profile. Sort of gives me a wider picture of which areas are low volume nodes and which ones are high volume nodes, sort of like a supply and demand overview. And you don't necessarily have to look at all the higher time frames to figure out which of those will be relevant because it just shows you it. You can see there's a very, very thick area. We've spent quite a bit of time here. And every time they tried to run up, they went down. They run it up, they come down. They run. And you know, energies for the most part of the year will have a short bias, apart from maybe super hot summers and really cold winters. That's when you will see natural gas just starting to run to the upside and takes no prisoners. So seasonality is definitely a big factor in certain commodities, including natural gas. So visible range volume profile is one. Then I have the fixed range volume profile. Now, personally, I will be straightforward. I do prefer the TPO profile. But it's kind of similar. It's just that the TPO profile has the initial balance, and then you can have yet another reference to see what kind of a day type you have. I feel like on volume profile that is not really the case. But it's still useful because the volume value areas are very similar and they are, you know, pretty useful just for orientation. And then I have some VWAPs here. Now, these are some anchored VWAPs that I like to do as and when the price is developing, if I'm in a trade. But this is a Globex VWAP, so session-based VWAP. And I prefer the open, high, low, close divided by 4. By default, I do believe they give you the high, low, close divided by 3. But I always, like I've done, because, you know, I do mechanical trading systems and stuff. So every time I've used the high, low, close divided by 3, it's not nearly as accurate, especially if you want to run your trades from it, like to use it as an actual, let's say, pullback point. I always feel that this one is a few ticks off quite frequently, whereas open, high, low, close tends to be more accurate. That's just me being a nerd, effectively. So, either one of those, they both have volume component inside it, which is the main thing. And then I have the volume 20 moving average. Let me increase this. So the volume moving average tracks the average of the volume bars themselves. And I also use that for situational awareness on low time frames. I wouldn't necessarily use it on a 30-minute chart because by the time volume prints anything, it's already too late. But if we focus on this one, you will see clearly areas that had higher than the average volume. So I use those for liquidity grabs, like smash and grab, or stop, run, and reverse, as we used to call it. Not as catchy as the liquidity sweep, but yeah, it's basically you look at the highs and lows of a relevant either session or range. But I don't like trading super tiny ranges. I need a few hours where the price is kind of contained inside a range, and then I will default to range bound trading strategies, which are not my favorite. I prefer the days when we have the imbalance in the market, which lends its way to like more trending type moves. I'm a mean reversion trader by heart and by nature, contrarian. I'm a left-handed person. I'm a southpaw. So that means that I will do everything opposite to whatever people are trying to do. Now, there is a limit to that, because obviously if we go outside of these ranges, that means, my mean reversion D version of myself, the character, needs to be in the background and probably gagged and tied up so that she doesn't cause trouble. Yeah. So anyways, so yeah, another indicator that I do have on here is the average true range. Again, it's similar to the ADR that I use. I also have my own measure, which I don't have an indicator on TopstepX for. I do have it on my charting tools, charting platforms. But effectively, you look at what the average movement for the day is. Now, I like to use a 10 to 14 periods. Here I have 9 for an intraday purpose. I can explain that as well. But if you don't have the Blatek DR indicator, which kind of tracks everything for yourself, tracks everything on its own. So this is what my other charting platform looks like. And it has a few things on there, and it's very pretty. So let's see. Let me get rid of the value areas here and some of these Q points. So now you see that there are some dotted lines here. This represents the average daily range exhaustion point. So whilst people use ATR and ADR in different ways, I use a 24-hour quantitative extreme, which is what these are. But I also use the average session range. So that means focusing on the time of day that you're trading and then tracking the session range across a number of days. So it's kind of like ADR, but for regular trading hours, if that makes sense. And both can be used as a high probability reversal point. And then on days when you have an outlier day, these will not be respected. So then once you smash through them, you either have like single prints at that point or something, but you can actually use them on a back test, and they do act as continuation. But then the other thing is, well, where does that stop? Well, I do have support 1, support 2. This is like extensions of the pivots, just in case we go into some massive, humongous day. And then finally, I just put in Asia highs and lows and some GEX levels of interest. Now, GEX levels, this is not an indicator. It is just a line that I grabbed from MentorQ. MentorQ are a company that basically digest all of the complex options levels data. And we know that on an intraday time frame, market makers are the ones that will be running the show. So unless you have, an exaggerated movement, I think we saw one yesterday in copper and also in equities. So copper yesterday went a bit nuts as they hit the wires with news that we're going to be reopening the government, and copper just started doing this. So it just started running to the upside, even though, no, that's not it. Hold on. Let me zoom out on a 2-minute time frame. Here it is. So basically, it's really quite a violent reaction, which I didn't really expect. I was actually looking for a neutral day fade in and around this call wall, but obviously it was a big deal for copper for some reason. So yeah. So the final indicator is the Mon-Thurs Q levels that I have on TradingView, but you can log into their website as well, and then you get this app that tells you whether we're negative or positive gamma, and it's all simplified down to a single line on the chart, so you don't have to stare at the matrices and stuff. I think that's all the indicators I have. Yeah, so 4 of them on here. Now on my other charting platform, I do have the candle timer right next to the candle, because to me, this little thing that just says, oh, 1 minute 12 left on the clock, my brain somehow doesn't really register that. I don't know. It's just well, that's the price axis, so who cares? And I find it very difficult to kind of track that. So on my other platform, I have a nice big clock. Now this one is actually free from Blartec. It's just such a small utility tool that we didn't feel we needed to charge for it. And then I do have VWAP with settlement, and settlement in the way we do it here. So this is our VWAP, and it has a settlement price. We do it by time, so it's not going to be necessarily the actual to the tick settlement price that they announce, because that's kind of just done with an average of between 1 minute to the settlement time, and then they kind of create an average, but it's kind of good enough. It's usually within a tick. Sometimes it's actually pretty accurate, but in general it's just another orientation point, because on most days you will have assets that will test settlement first before they do anything, and then settlement sometimes can be a good reversal point. Not always. Most of the times I would just use it as a target. If I'm already in a trade, I will be careful of settlement. Now, on natural gas, settlement is a little bit too close for me to take notes of it. I mean, it's just, what is this? It's not even, it's about 50 points, so it's not really too relevant. All right, so GEX2 is still fighting. No real volume to speak of, though, so that is not a condition that I want to see. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. There's a GEX1 at 425, and there's some minor GEX levels to the way down, but the implied volatility is sitting at 417. That's kind of like an ADR, but taken from the options chain, and the implied volatility that they expect the next day, effectively. Is it accurate? Well, sometimes, but it has to be contextual. I use the average ranges, exhaustion points, as well as the implied volatility highs and lows with time of day expectation. So if they get hit too early, I will think twice whether I want to get involved. And most of the times I will stay out of the pullback, but then I will try and trade through them on the way down as a continuation setup if profile and all the other bits permit. But yeah, natural gas seems to be where the money is. Where do you get average session range? It's my indicator. So I used to do it on Excel spreadsheets. when I first started. But now I have a whole software development company. We create mechanical trading algorithms and some trading tools for retail traders as well. We're working on some other platforms. I've actually got close to finishing our Blatek utility levels Discord. So let me just do this. So it's effectively just a utilities Discord that takes the numbers from our indicators and plops them in here, so you can see the ES, NNQ. We also have the session ranges, so daily range levels. Now the range levels will be printed 3 times a day, once for Tokyo, once for London, and once for NYSE. So here they are. But the market profile is going to be printed once a day at UK midnight for Tokyo Open, because those don't change, right? It's a previous day distribution curve. So there's no need to like keep updating that. But yeah, so this is something I've been preparing with my little team. So they created a special little bot that drags all of these out. And it will be quite useful so that you don't have to come here and ask me for levels. And we'll have 3 channels and obviously subscriptions to match each of those. But remember, it's a utility Discord. It is not a coaching Discord. If you ask me questions about your own trading, that is not the place. And for the most part, it's going to be just me and one of my developers in there. The developer is a developer. He's in finance, but he's not a trader. So, you know, if you have a technical issue, that might be something to consider. But yeah, don't expect that we're going to have trading conversations. I'm not a huge fan of Discord, I've got to say. But as a utility tool, this is actually just fine. Right, we have some volume increase here. So I'm going to just try a little combine trade here. This looks like a very wide stop because I'm basing it on the average session ranges for NYMEX, just in case that I want to carry this over. So what is happening now? Well, we have the volume slowly growing above that average, and obviously the location is important. So is it happening at X2 or not? So now you flip into the OODA loops. If this doesn't make any traction and it starts to pull back, you need to think about early exits and stuff. Or you can take the do or die approach if you don't trade that much. Like I typically do between 1 to 5 trades per day. It would be, you know, if I have a really good first trade and that hits like 3R, I'll be done for the day. Like I don't really look for more. But if I'm running into a more range-bound situation across the board, across all my products, then yeah, I will try and trade more. But yeah, so for now, GEX2 still causing some trouble. We have a little, I suppose you can call this a Morningstar reversal there, but it's still a range. So really, in order for this trade to start making any sense, we need to go above the 432 high, and we need to close it. And then we also have VWAP to contend with. So again, inside day, I do expect quite a lot of wiggling here, but some volume is attempting to step in. They are trying to do something with it. Let me have a look at. Hold on. Let me just relog in to Bookmap. Bookmap. And let me adjust in my chair here so that I'm not slouching. Right, so what do we have on the Delta Bookmap? Let's load it up. very, very mildly positive. So it's like 35 positive delta. So that's not that much. If anything, it speaks to a quieter period of the day. But yeah, the buyers are there. Just need some more commitment. How many days do you use for average session range? 20. So no, I will typically use between 10 to 14. The only time I would expand that to 40, so 40, is if we had like too many outlier days that pop up and then nothing, and then 2 days later we have another outlier day. I want to smooth out the average range to basically get a better information. But yeah, so we'll see. And the average range is right now super far. Now, I don't have the average range for NYMEX. I can tell you that right now it's 150 ticks, but we're so far away. Like the average range, the way I do it, it requires the active sessions. So the only thing I have right now is the London average session range. And I can tell you that the average high is at 440 and average low is at 420. And we're right in the middle. So that's not really a level just yet. It's a potential target, but it's not a level. Thoughts on GC low of the day being in? I very much doubt that, but because if it goes down for the day, and even if it goes up, it is very rare that London makes the low for the day. So let's have a look at GC. And let's focus on a 30-minute time frame. So what do you see here? When you analyze the composition of this swing, would this be a bottom of a swing? No. So where is the swing? This is your swing. Now, seriously, you need to zoom out. And London, typically what happens with London or Asia lows is that what they do first is to take liquidity. And if you look, the times of day when the low was made on the day, it was either Asia, or if you take the session, let's say London and New York, where do they go? What's this? 2 p.m. That's half an hour after COMEX opens. So there's yet another movement into this structure that was created during London. So it pops, but then who created the low? Asia. So I don't think that London for this time of day is a particularly important time. We have London Metal Exchange open, and then we have COMEX open. Those are much more important. Why would the London Stock Exchange LSE, that primarily focuses on stocks, put in the low of the day on gold when they don't do the pricing of the metals? It doesn't make sense. So it's either Shanghai Exchange that will set the low or the high as well, or it will be closer to LME and COMEX because there's an overlap. Obviously, LME starts trading, and then an hour and a half later, or 2 hours later, you get COMEX start. So any sort of run-up that you see during this time of the day for gold, it's usually a fake out. You can get a good trade out of it, if you're not looking for big intraday swings like I am. But to me, those sorts of trades always have a lower risk profile, a lower profit margin than the ones that I take from bigger orientation points. Usually closer to, like if I'm looking for a pullback and a reversal, on gold I would try to do that about an hour into LME, or alternatively in and around the London close or LME close. Now in the UK that's 4:30 and 5 p.m. So London close and then follows LME close half an hour later. But yeah, if we're going to put the low in, no, this is too high up. Way too high up. And where are we on the daily? Nowhere. Middle of nowhere. And weekly still consolidating. I mean, do you not think that this is some kind of a range? Is it going to be a reaccumulation and then we go higher? Yeah, probably. But for now, on an intraday time frame, no, I do not think the lows are in, especially because we have GEX2 that we're bouncing from at 41.50 at the moment. And we have a put support at 41.20. So if anything, I would say 41.20 is the first important area. And then GEX3 at 40.75 would be the next one. But yeah, currently bouncing from GEX2 and reversing. Definitely do not think that the low is in. So yeah, for average session range, like I said, 10 to 14 days, but sometimes, on some occasions, I will even have 40 days, it depends. Dalian Trading says gold is going up. Eventually, yes, but right now, like I said, intraday, we have GEX2 level. That's traditionally very difficult to smash through. And we are in a positive gamma environment, which means you expect the GEX levels to be reaction zones, for sure. But, you know, is it going up in general? Yes. How does that help you intraday? It doesn't, because you can have very nice short trades on gold. And whilst the weekly is in a range, both sides of the story are possible. Only when the weekly and daily are all just kind of shooting up and up in very nice clean candles, that's when it becomes a little dangerous to run shorts, like equities, you know. If you saw what equities were doing post the Trump tariff madness, they turned around and they just kept going. Literally just kept going. Is it Pacific Rats? Is it the same as Dagger Capital's range? I have no idea what that is. I can look it up, but I don't know. What the hell is Dagger Capital's range? Like, what is that? I'm not even getting anything. Is that like some person on YouTube or something? Oh, Paul H says, once again, I'm here, but on my way to a client. Yeah, you're busy, mate. I get it. You know, we all get busy. Don't worry about it. It's like, we're not going anywhere. Life, you know, business. It takes precedence. Right, what else can we have a look at? Yeah, so copper has its own GEX2 at 515. So let's map out those levels. Where is the Asia low? So, suppose this is it. Do I have those markers somewhere? No. Okay. And you'll notice that I do the same thing every day. It's same levels, same approach, same everything. And then Asia high is right here. Structurally, is that the high? No. So I think we have a better reference than the Asia high. So really, previous days high would be your point of interest. ADR located around 515. So just a little bit higher up than it was yesterday. and then 50080. Let's delete these as well. This was the yesterday's plan. So ADR, let's recycle this. 5. There it is. Okay. Change that into dash line and just call it ADR low. Okay. So again, middle of the range. We didn't exhaust anything, so for now this is looking a pretty normal day. And I mean, with this government open, if I look at it on the daily, we do have some space up to 518 before we hit the extreme. But where we are right now is the middle. However, while we're sitting in above London's value high, that value area from yesterday is so wide because of this outlier nonsense that we had. Seems like we are once again in a news-driven type market where everything is like a little bit choppy until they come up with some sort of news. So here is this purple thing is the value area. So we're just still inside it. There is a low volume area inside this value, which may lend some support. But structurally, looking at where Asia low took it, I would probably aim for like 505 for longs. And then to trade towards that GEX2 level at 515, maybe even to the gamma wall, which is sitting at 518. So that's all well within the range. But if we get all the way up to the gamma wall at 518, that would already be an outlier day. So, you know, we'll be a bit careful there. Any chance for CPI this week? Yes. So copper is best done on like a swing intraday trade during CPI or PPI because it's very reactive to it. So if you're going to look for some setups, that will be the day. So this week, that's my plan to focus on probably just copper for the CPI and PPI. Not going into it, but trading the aftermath. I said that really weird. God, I sound like MP. I keep clearing my throat. I need to get some lemon water or something. But yeah, so CPI, PPI, best days to focus on copper because they do push it usually higher. I mean, I suppose if it's a terrible number, you can look for shorts as well. It's just by the way that copper looks on very large time frames. That's a symbol, not the time frame. D. Wake up. Yeah, so still inside this. Hold on, let me just remove these chart thingies because they are annoying. When I try to look at other time frames, it's just like all the executions. And I don't even trade that much. It's like, okay, so daily chart, pretty strong demand reversal. And right now we're just kind of sitting in between there, but we do have space, like I said, all the way to 518. And 518 is where the call wall is as well. And that matches this area of supply. From an even larger time frame perspective, I would say that this is one big reaccumulation before we try to tackle this big boy again. And we've been trying all summer, right? So summertime came, we established the low, slowly they started tracking through it, but they're taking their story time, like seriously. It's like taking half an age and it's not really doing anything. Okay, so GEX2 on natural gas is not playing ball. We had this. Now I'm going to anchor a VWAP to that on a low time frame in a minute. Whoops. So as you can see, we had this bigger volume candle here. So let's just see what they want to do with that. Yeah, so right now they are rejecting that. So let's do a little scalp down maybe. Again, wide stop so that we don't get shaken out. But so far GEX2 is failing to bring volume. Maybe it will get reclaimed later on, but at the moment we're struggling. And every time they try and go higher, they smash it back down. So now Asia low first stop, GEX1 at 425 would be the second one. So let's just put that there. And again, I usually trade natural gas much later in the day. I like to trade DAX for this time of day. Those of you who have been here for a hot minute know this already. We can have a look at DAX for a second, see what it's doing. All right, so we're about to create a neutral day type, but I'm not really interested in that. So here's DAX. So what do we have? We have inside day. So we're opening inside value. Tried to get outside of it. Responsive short appeared. And maybe another responsive long as we kind of maybe get into this area. So I would like to see it closer to the previous day London low. Just around 23,918. So that's where average session range low is located. I do not want to short it like this because I do not like shorting equities on a neutral day, because what could happen is that they don't really extend far enough and they just whip it back into a neutral day type and then they just kind of shoot higher. So I do not want to do that at the moment. So nothing on DAX just yet. But if we fall back a little bit more, we still haven't taken Asia high either. So if I do go into some responsive longs on the account of a neutral day type, then I may want to target Asia high for a little smash and grab. But we just need a little bit lower, a little bit more commitment to either side. This is pretty quiet, 67 ticks for the initial bounce range. Right, let's see if natural gas can take the Asia low at some point and then maybe get down to this area as well. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to attach. God, all of this volume is just so pathetic. Pathetic. Yeah, you know what? This is not a good orientation point because when I zoom out, there are much, much bigger volume candles, even during Asia. So this is not that relevant. So I need to wait until a bigger, either, you know, a red or a green bar comes in, and then we can have an orientation point and see how things are going. Let me just have a look at bookmap because I haven't done that. I haven't done my bookmap. Yeah, so on natural gas, negative delta is slightly growing. So it was 35 positive, now it's minus 97. And it's a bit of a tug of war around here. So they go trying to get higher, but now the bubbles are all turning quite red. I did create finally the bookmap settings video, and I will be uploading that to my YouTube today, so should be up there. But it's a very kind of informational video. I didn't put comedy in it. It's literally like a 10-minute video that just explains what I have on bookmap. It's like very engaging. But yeah, if you're using bookmap, then that could be an idea. It could be an idea. Where could I find, so Scott wants to know where could could I find the info needed to calculate those levels, and what would I look for? You said you used to do the GEX levels in spreadsheet. No, I used to do the average ranges in spreadsheets. GEX levels, you have to look at the options chain and then have enough knowledge about what you're looking at to figure out which one is GEX 2, which one is a call and put wall, which one is a minor GEX level. And for that purpose, literally, MentorQ is golden. I mean, if you look on my YouTube, the final video that I did that there like a month ago or something is the use of MentorQ levels. So it's Market Stalkers or Market Stalker D on YouTube, and then you can go and look at that. And it's, I mean, obviously it's an extra cost, right? And they do have a basic subscription where you don't get the indicator, but you do get their, sort of like their platform where you can look up anything. And the reason why I stick with MentorQ is because they have commodities. Like there's not many options companies with like dark pools and stuff that have other markets apart from equities. Everybody's so bloody obsessed with NQ as if there's no other markets in the world. It's like, and yet every time I move one of the people that we're coaching away from NQ, suddenly they flourish. It's like, well, what does that tell you? Literally, I've never had somebody come to me struggling with NQ and being inconsistent and then continuing to trade NQ and suddenly finding the light at the end of the tunnel. It always requires us to move them somewhere, to either ES or YM or, you know, copper or gold or silver or something that is not that insane. And then suddenly they learn how to emotionally regulate. And I would argue that is key. Like, it's not the fact that, oh, you like NQ. It's like, great. Are you getting consistency? And look, if you're consistent on it, brilliant. All the power to you. If you're able to get like at least one monthly payout trading NQ alone, awesome. But if you've only done, you know, like we had Vikas here, right? And I saw him on Aaron's stream as well, asking the same question and getting exactly the same answer from every one of us, but still not being happy and still probably hoping that somebody's going to tell him it's okay to copy trade 5. And yes, he trades micros, but I really don't think after blowing 13 XFAs like he has professed to have done, I think he should move away from NQ. So because if you're listening, something to consider, mate. Move to ES. Oh, but it's slow. Yeah, that's the point. You need to slow the F down. I'm trying to load the basic MentorQ app, but I'm being a little bit slow today because I've got too many things to think about. Let me try it. They also have the Discord, so that's pretty cool. What am I looking for? I'm looking for, let's go natural gas, and that's commodities. No. Hold on. Did something change? I haven't been in their Discord for a while. What's happened? Trading room. Oh, it's not what I want. Okay, so let me just try something else. I'm going to... And also Starlink has been a little bit tricky recently. I don't know why. No, I can't load the page for some reason. Anyways, yeah, have a look at, like I said, my YouTube channel because it's just not loading. And then you will see the basics of how I use it. But mainly I look for call and put walls and then GEX 2 and 3. Those are kind of my orientation points. But what I expect to happen around those is entirely dependent on whether we're in negative or positive gamma. So there's like a few bits to it. Frankly, doing it yourself, you're going to spend so much time. And I think that all of us here value our time more than anything. So if you're going to be spinning your wheels trying to get your own GEX levels, isn't that worth like $50 a month or something to avoid it? And then I have the premium one, which is $89 a month, which I understand is a little bit pushing it for some people with the trading tools, but presumably you have a budget for the trading tool. So why not, you know, instead of full porting yet another combine and having to reset, why not maybe invest that elsewhere? Just an idea. Just, you know, brainstorming here. Alexander says, I wish we could trade some European indices on Topstep as well. Traded Amsterdam AX a lot as well as DAX. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, these shows were supposed to be DAX shows. This is why we're looking at changing the time. Don't know when it's going to happen. It was supposed to happen, but then we had some changes in the back end and some new people coming in or whatever. So that got put on hold. But yeah, so I was waiting for 18 months for DAX to arrive. It didn't arrive. And now we need to actually change this to the time of day that is conducive to metals and arguably conducive to some setups that happen in between sort of the overlap session and pre-market for NYMEX. And, you know, if we move this to 11 a.m. my time, basically when I finish this stream, that's when I will be starting in the future at some point. Again, don't ask me when. And then we get volume and stuff. Like, you know, most of the time here, I don't trade energies this early in the morning. I don't trade metals this like I worked for a London prop firm where we only traded DAX and Bund, maybe some pound dollar, but we never traded these things. So, you know, high probability setups. Like what high probability setups when it's either Shanghai, LME, or COMEX? Like, but DAX was supposed to come, and then they struggled. They had issues with the dashboard in USD versus euros per tick. Don't know why that was such a big deal, because with a Forex feed, you can just do the conversion in like 2 lines of code. But apparently that was a huge deal. So I don't know. I'm hoping that now that we've expanded, so MP had just hired like a whole bunch of people. And last time I was in fast markets with him, he did say that they're working much faster. So Topstep is growing, guys. It's definitely growing. So I do have faith that at some point we'll have DAX. And then I trade DAX, you know, for the other time of day as well, 11 to 1. I have setups for that time, usually continuation longs or something, but yeah. Amanda says, it's NASCrack, D. The quick dollar signs are addicting. I had to quit the crazy thing, never made it 4 calendar weeks in an eval until now, not trading it. Exactly. Look, I'm not saying that there aren't some people that are suitable for it, but they are the oddities amongst oddities, right? They are the unusual individuals who are generally very emotionally regulated. That does not happen that often, right? Lieb Trading says, I will be a DAX enjoyer. Yes, me too. And I am a DAX enjoyer for this time of day, for sure. Natural gas wise, is it a good idea to look at the previous seasons? Oh yeah, absolutely. It's definitely within reach, because obviously last year we had you had the elections and you had a whole bunch of stuff happening, so it was a bit of an outlier year. But for sure, go back in time 15 years, see what happened. You can use Edgeful for that, actually. I think they have seasonal data on how NG behaves on a month-to-month basis, and you can extrapolate very easily that anytime you have hot weather or cold weather, there's an increase, and then in between it's a bit of a snooze fest, bit of a meh. Right, just gonna increase the time frame here a little bit. Again, all this volume is just meh. It's just like chopping in a range. So I'm gonna leave this to do whatever it wants to do, but we're struggling around GEX2. If it decides to go higher, that's fine, but I think we're going to tag Asia low at some point. Because look at the composition of this. Does this look like a structure break upside? Well, not yet. Does this look like a structure break? No. It looks like a failed attempt at a reversal. We tried to go higher, but we failed. Now we're going lower. And all the while there's inside bars, it's a range. So, and I'm not looking for a range trade, just to be sure. I'm looking for a flush down, ideally, then a reversal. Or if we stay here painfully for the next 3 hours, 4 hours, GEX2 will become an orientation point for longs because of the time of the year. But until that happens, I am just sitting here watching it and expecting the Asia lows to be taken. Like if they were going to run it higher, it already would have happened. So we can look at the 4-hour time frame as well. I mean, does this look long? No. It looks like a pullback after a big smash down. And it is the bottom of the range, but then there's this one as well. So yeah. It's the lack of volume. It's one of my mental triggers actually. When there's no volume and nothing is moving and it's just like chopping in a very tight range, that starts to irk me. And then I'm like, And whenever something irks me, it means that I have to just pause and move away, step away. What levels are those on your charts? Well, I mean, hopefully they are pretty clear, right? Let's focus on natural gas. Let's go up to a 30-minute time frame. So what do I have? I have Asia high, Asia low. I have GEX2, which is an options level. I do usually have average daily ranges on here. I have the volume profile, volume high, value high, value low, this purple area from the previous day. And then usually I'll pop in the ADR low and ADR high. And that's it. So 444. 444 is the exhaustion to the upside. When I say exhaustion, it's not like, oh, these go short at 44, 44. No, I said it is a level that you can use as a target and then maybe reevaluate once you get there, especially at times when we're like trying to turn around and it's trying to go higher. Here I am shorting it. Yay. But yeah, so 422 is the bottom line. So 422. Let's change that to green. And right now, dead in the middle, chopping around GEX2. I mean, it hasn't even tagged VWAP yet. VWAP is up here. And the volume that they're doing this with is nothing. Nothing. It does nothing. So there's probably going to be a liquidity grab in reverse because there's nothing supporting it. Still chopping in the range. Right, let's see if they do smash and grab and this survives. This could be a nice opportunity to scale in because I use a 3 lot size on combines and I always start just with 1 just in case, especially on these streams where, you know, I'm not trading my main instrument DAX and I want the possibility to scale into my max default size, which is 3 on natural gas, and then you can minimize the stop while still keeping the risk very, very consistent and increase the risk reward. But remember, there is an idea of the max default size. So I'm starting with a third less than usual, aiming to scale into 3, okay? And then always means you have to build the position in a zone. And because this is not really supported by any volume, we'll see whether VWAP can put a stop to this. So it will be a stop run and reverse above the nearest highs. And these are pretty much equal highs here. Not quite, but, you know, good enough. So they will be taken for sure. And then if we smack into VWAP and start to reverse again, that will be a good area to scale in the second time. And then we wait again. Marty Hill, is the government shutdown ending? Does anyone know? Yeah, so yesterday the Senate passed a legislation to end the shutdown, and copper and equities went absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. All right, so we took the highs. Now we look at Bookmap. Probably will touch VWAP. Actually, let me just give this a bit of room. And I know moving stops, but I'm doing something here that will ultimately bring my stop down. Okay, so now let's watch for the change. Ha! So they've gone negative delta on that move. It's funny. Just need some red bubbles, no? But again, the volume at this time of day is so pitiful. Like nothing. So we're going to touch VWAP. No, we're going to touch VWAP. It's like Coach Ray says, have you hugged your VWAP? So Ray and I know each other pretty well because he came to me for training back in 2019. All right, we have some bubbles. All right, let's try scaling in. Ugh. These brackets, man. All right, so I scale in. Move this back down. I want to see this back into range and then re-tagging the for 430. Then ultimately taking the Asia low and then a little bit more to reach this X1 level. And then that'll be the trade. If I can get it. But it's so slow. So slow. It's too slow in for me, man. Come on. Yeah, so let's see what happens there. A little bit of a smash. Turn around. Amanda says, so now I have two of the same size combines going for two live accounts, two funded accounts. Should I trade them as usual except limit myself to 120 max loss per account every other day? Okay, so let me read that again. Should I trade them as usual except limit myself to 120 max loss? So what is your usual max loss? Like if you don't know that in on a combine level, like is that your, didn't you say it was like 250 or something? So now you're talking half. Are you also halving your position size? Every time you do a change with anything, so whether that is, let's say the daily loss limit, position size, number of trades per day. So if you then go to half the number of trades, half the position size, and half the daily loss limit, that's consistent. But if you only do one part of that equation, it's like let's say you had 250 on the daily loss limit, but you've just changed that to 120, that's not going to work because you're still trading size that you traded with a DLL that was higher, double the amount, right? So we need to be mindful that whatever parameters you're changing, that they breathe together, not just like, oh yeah, I'm just going to change position size, but then you still leave the daily loss limit. Like that's another thing that I came across. So they lowered this position size to micros, but they never lower the daily loss limit. They, being some of the VIPs in the beginning, previous season and current season. And it typically, like, I think that the VIP is too short. I think it should be 6 months rather than 3 months, because by the end of the 3rd month, people are only then getting to epiphanies, because that's how long it takes. It takes like 3 months for your brain to rewire yourself in light of new experience and information, and forcing yourself to do something and to emotionally regulate. 3 months is not enough. So I do hope that maybe in the next iterations of the VIP, we can have 6 months. And then, I don't know, there should be a cost associated. I can't believe that MP is just giving it away. Like, honestly, just such a generous man. Do I train people? Yes, for 8 years, but I kind of fell into it. It wasn't like, yes, I'm going to create a mentorship by market stalkers. It wasn't like that. It was like me working in a prop firm, and people who were also funded traders going, oh my God, Dee, how did you do that trade? Can you explain it to us? So I would then have like 12 people around me, around my screen, and me kind of explaining how. But then those people started asking me questions away from the office, which took over my life, which my husband wasn't very happy about. And we were doing Skype groups back then. It was a very long time ago. It was like 10 years ago. And then eventually I started putting things on a small website. Eventually I decided to move that to YouTube. So I did one video in 2015, big purple hair D, first ever video that I did on YouTube. I'm very awkward. My accent was screwed up because I was in Chicago not too long before then. And so I'm like, I have this like really weird transatlantic accent going on. And it's so funny. But yeah, and then I suddenly got like 30,000 views in the space of like 7 days or something. And people started DMing me and emailing me, because back in those days you could DM people on YouTube. That's how old I am. And then suddenly they were like, oh, do you have a book? Do you have a course? Do you have this? And I'm like, no, I don't have anything. And then eventually I decided to go down the route of like, okay, well, I actually always wanted to put together a methodology based on all of these levels and little bits and pieces, like moving parts. There's 4 of them that I use for situational awareness. And I'm very systematic in what I want to look for. So maybe that will be helpful for people. And it was helpful to the people in the prop firms that I was with. So in the end, I effectively created a course. It took me like 2 years for the first iteration, and eventually we sought the CPD certification for that course. And I do believe we are still probably the only one in existence that is a trading course that's CPD certified. Maybe there's another one somewhere. I don't know whether Merit Black has one as well, but it's it was a very important thing for me. And then people started coming to me, and it wasn't really until 2018, 2019 that I opened up that for coaching. And since then, I've personally coached, I think, over 400 people now over this last sort of 7-8 years. But on the courses side, because I do have a pro dev course, that's like 10,000 people worldwide. So, I think it's my ability to be able to break down pretty complex subjects in smaller digestible pieces that make sense. And I actually have degrees in other things, but basically when you are going through like a music university, they teach you methodics of teaching others, because one of the goals once you have a degree as a musician is to eventually become a professor. And with that, you have to know methodics of scaling people's performance skills. What's trading? It's performance skills. So I think that's why teaching something else and having that skill set to be a good teacher, as well as being able to have, Topstep Live account, to be able to explain the setups and exactly what you're looking at. And, I can think of Coach Jay and Coach Ray that have that ability as well. And funnily enough, Coach Ray, we started off as me being the mentor and him the student, but then he was so good that I actually hired him to work for my company for like 2 years. And when I got really sick, he actually saved me, because I would just be saying like, Ray, can you please take over the gold members? I'm dying, like I'm literally like I can't get out of bed. And he'd be like, yeah, sure. So he was, and you don't forget that. That is like outside of trading, outside of everything, he was just there when I needed him to be. And he is still an amazing coach, even better now. So yeah, it's pretty nice to have met people that are extraordinary. So yeah, I still coach, although the coaching side is a little bit less now. I had to lower the amount of people that I accept. So I have a pretty strict criteria. So when you go to do a call with me, it's not about, oh yeah, Dee, let me ask you questions. It's like, no, do I want you in my coaching at all? Because otherwise, what are we doing? And, I also see whether I can help you, because with some people, I really can't help them. If they're too new, and I've had some people that got really annoyed with me as well. Like I would just say, I don't think it's right. Some people are okay. I say, I don't think you're quite ready for, like, I think it would be a waste of time for both of us, for me to step into the coaching side of things, because I think that you need to grow a little bit more. And then once you get to a point where you know what a candlestick pattern is, you know what a range is, you know how to identify some basic market structure, then we come to a point where you want to level up your skills in order to pass combines, maintain, and ultimately pad the XFA so that you can get the payout, right? That's what my role as a mentor is. It's not necessarily to make you into my clone, because even though I've given the same setups and same methodology to 9,000, 10,000 people, everybody has their own different way of doing things, and that's okay. I work with that, not against it. And for every trader I take on personally, and it's not that many of them, like at the moment I think I've got 7 people on there, it's always me coming up with a roadmap and then figuring out what would be the best style with that particular trader. So the first month of coaching is just me watching and observing. Yes, you have to submit plans for review, and we talk through setups and observations, but really that first month is just observation mode. I don't want people to trade like a million trades, and I don't advise million trades anyways. I want people to find 2 good setups, and they're done. If they can't do that, it means they're overtrading. I'm sorry, this is just how it is. We want to try and extract as much profit from the market for as less work as possible. This is not a 9 to 5, okay? It's not a 9 to 5. You can't just go, oh, well, if I work more, it's going to be more money. No, it's quite the opposite. If you work more, it's going to be less money. Because you're going to start imagining shit, right? So, all of that is more like emotional regulation. And yes, I teach you the strategy, but that's the easy part. Man, they're still like fighting here. It's just so annoying. So I'm going to get annoyed with this trade in a minute and then just take the cut. Wait for a better time of day. See what a snooze fest this is. Like, we have moved. How long have I been on? So almost 90. I've been on for how long? 80 minutes. And we've moved whole 29 ticks, guys, of the range. Ugh. So I can't stay in this. It's just not. I can't be bothered. I'm gonna wait for a better time of day for this, and I'm gonna wait for more volume, which gets easier to tape read when there's more volume. This is just watching paint dry, and I'm not going to create a massive hole watching paint dry. So that's probably going to be it for the next couple of hours. I'm probably going to take until the euro close to even start looking at the chart, to basically try and find a high probability setup for that time of day. If I can't find it then, I'm going to do what I did on natural gas yesterday. So just basically wait for end of day and then see where they want to take it, because end of day has more volume. Oh, Coach Hoop is here. Says, you mean you aren't queen of mentorships? Lol, good morning. Good morning, Hoop. queen of crude oil in the day. Not anymore. It used to be. I'm more queen of natural gas these days. And Coach Hoop knows this is a setup that we all used to do on energies. You get to the end of the day and then you fade. It was like everybody was doing it, and natural gas is now kicking up. So yeah. It's so nice to see Hoop here. I'm really hoping that, once we get the time change, I can get Hoop here. I can get Jay more often as well. It's so many people that can then join me. Coach Robert as well. Would love to have him for some nerd talk because he's always fun. And yeah, so morning Hoop. Yeah, we should chat later. So Coach Hoop is my trading buddy. So we chat at least twice a week. Sometimes even more. John says, it's taken me 2 months and I still can't get a schedule down. In relation to trading or what? Oh, Marty Hill says, I play the sax. Hello, colleague. And when I have played a session and go trading, I seem to perform better. Yeah, I truly believe that that's why so many of us former musicians have gone into trading, because it's similar skill set, right? Hogue was a musician. Dolby is still a musician. I was a musician. Do we have any more musicians in the crew? I'm not sure, but a lot of musicians that I've met along the way, because it's a performance skill. It's the same thing. What do you need in music? You need discipline and some rule following in a bit of a chaotic environment. So if you're ad-libbing, what do you have? You have a chord progression, right? Whatever you do on top of that, as long as you're following the right key, is fine. But I would equate to overtrading, kind of like somebody trying to play a simple pop song and then trying to do a jazz solo on top of it with like super fast things. It just doesn't gel. It's like, stop it. You're ruining the song. And I look at my methodology as sort of like a symphony that has a few different instruments inside it that all need to work in unison. That includes time of day, huge component for me. It includes volume, because you have to have volume for anything to happen. It includes good high probability areas where we can run swings from. Intraday. I'm not talking multi-day swings. I'm talking taking like 30 or 40% of the day's range, sometimes even more. It's not going to happen often, but on most days I'm able to take like 30 to 40% of the overall ADR. So that's the same thing, right? But yeah, musicianship requires extreme self-discipline. It requires methodical approach. You can't just kind of sit down and immediately go to play a super complex track. Like, I can't take my guitar and suddenly go, well, I'm just going to play a new song by Joe Satriani without any practicing, without practicing intervals, without practicing, the boxes and stuff, because I play sax and I play electric guitar as well. And how do you do that? You do it through boring things like practicing scales, practicing different interval jumps, and same thing on the sax, right? You practice smooth transitions from one octave to the next, right? And then the toughest parts are, let's say, the really high notes that are basically harmonics. So that takes an ear, so like you have to listen to what you're doing, and then you have to use the embouchure, and you have to obviously make sure that you're clean technically. So trading is the same. If you're not technically clean, it's all going to be a bit of a mess. And, put mess in. The great saying. I hope it's PG. I think it is. So somebody once said, yeah, sure, you can polish a turd, but then all you get is a shiny turd. And I always laugh at that because I think that's such a great analogy for some people's trading. It's like, yeah, you can do all you want with a strategy that has too many moving parts that, maybe it's too simplistic as well. That's not very good because it doesn't give you situational awareness. So you need to find that middle of the middle where you have enough information, but you're not nitpicking too much on stops. You're not aiming for perfection at entry level, because that doesn't exist. It is pointless. You trade after a certain time. It's like, oh yeah, I had zero drawdown on that. It's like, was the trade profitable or not? I don't care whether it went into drawdown or not. What matters is that you placed your stop loss at some sort of an invalidation point. And maybe if it didn't go well, you exit early, but not grasshopper out as soon as it's like -5 ticks against you. You let it breathe. And then after a while, like I was in this trade for what? I gave it time. You know, I gave it like what? 15, 20 minutes. It's just not doing anything. So it's like, I'm not going to sit there in a trade for the next 2 hours. I want to see movement. Whether it's against me or in my favor, actually I like the tape to liven up a bit, and then I can derive extra information from it. But when everything is flat, there's nothing to derive. It's just like watching paint dry. And like I say, I'd rather go stick pins in my eyes. So I'm going to go do that. To end the stream, if you're on my Twitter, I don't post that much there because I've been on Twitter for so long and I'm just tired of everything. I came to a point where I just post dog pictures and funny things from my life. So yesterday I was eating a very nice spicy dish, right? It was a noodle dish, curry laksa. And I thought I was, just eating normally, but apparently not, because one of the noodles flicked up and hit me in the eye. Oh my God, it was so painful. And I still had a bit of a headache this morning. So moral of the story, don't slurp your noodles aggressively. And don't trade aggressively either. Don't overtrade. This is only Tuesday, so maybe try to keep the losses controlled. And regulate emotionally as well. If something hurts, stop doing it. There's an idea. So if NQ hurts, move away from NQ. There's ES, there's YM, there's RTY. And if you are willing to explore some other products, there's RBOB, there's GC, there's copper, there's like so many other, there's silver, beautiful trade. NQ is not the only kid on the block. Just because everybody else is doing it, you don't have to do it too. And in fact, I would say that by you doing it, whatever everybody else is doing it, you're a bit of a lemming. It's like, well, if it worked for this person, it must work for me as well. No, the likelihood is that person is an outlier in the human race, because we are ultimately all wired to survive. You have however many millions of human race evolution. What did we evolve to do? We evolved to run from saber-toothed tigers, right? And yet many of you, as soon as you start trading, you carry that into the markets. And you see the markets as a saber-toothed tiger, which it isn't. There's risk, but it's not risk of death. It's just risk of some money lost. Once you remove that fear and that idea that somehow your P&L is your reflection of your self-esteem, confidence, power, you will be free, and you need to be free in order to make this work. And I'm going to finish the stream with that book that we all know, Tom Hugart's Best Loser Wins. So the outlier there is that in order to become an excellent trader, you have to become an exquisite loser. I will leave you with that. You will see me for group coaching today, and I think we're on together with Hogue, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, join us for the main broadcast later on. And of course, check out some of our other overnight programming. We have Dakota running the slow markets. We have Coach Jay and Coach Paul running at the buzzer. Then we have Aaron Trades, who does the London Open. And we have myself for the Eurotrade. But for now, this is all from me. This was the Eurotrade. I am Marcus Stalker D, and I will see you again in a few hours. Take care.